Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Stunning Mushroom in the AITAH subreddit. The post is titled AITAH for being annoyed that my wife allowed my brother to stay at our house. My brother lives with his girlfriend about an hour's drive away from my wife and me. My brother and I have never been close due to the age difference. Our parents had me young and then him later in life. He was always the spoiled one who got whatever he wanted. We see each other on holidays and special occasions, but other than that, we might talk on the phone once or twice a month. Last night I had to work late and could not be reached by phone. When I got off, I noticed that I had 2 missed calls from my brother and a few from my wife, but it was already close to 11 p.m., so I chose to just drive home instead of calling and possibly waking someone up. I walked into the house and saw my wife and brother on the couch playing Mario Kart. When I walked in, they both said hi and went back to their game. I went to the bedroom to shower and frankly, just sleep. I was exhausted. My wife came in a few minutes later and I asked her why my brother was there. She said he called her because he and his girlfriend had gotten into a pretty heated argument and he just needed to get away from the situation for a little while he figured out what he was going to do. They only have one car and it's in the girlfriend's name, so he couldn't take it. Apparently, he tried to call me and when I didn't answer, he called her and she went to pick him up an hour away, even though she hates driving at night. They also went out to dinner before coming home. I told her that I found it odd that she would pick up my brother and take him to dinner just because he got into an argument with his girlfriend. I felt that he is an adult and needed to work it out himself. She just rolled her eyes at me and said he would be staying in the spare room as long as he needed, that I was acting weird and that he is my brother. She had no idea why it was such a huge deal that he was here. I told her that if someone is staying at my house, especially my family, I should be the one who decides that he had no right to call her. He should have waited for me to call him back and I would be talking to him in the morning. She told me to deal with it and grow up, that he was always welcome here. My wife is now mad at me and I am stuck with my brother in the house for who knows how long until he figures out his life. We already have 2 teenagers. I don't need another kid here. I stand by what I said. My brother doesn't need to be here, but my wife is still mad at me today. AITA for saying that she should not have picked up my brother and allowed him to stay at the house. Update. I don't think that just because I believe a person should be out of the house at 18 and not rely on family for support makes me a bad person. People need to grow up and be adults. I expect the same from my children. They are expected to have a job and save money to move out when they are 18 and graduate from high school. If they go to college, they can stay but are expected to pay for it on their own and contribute a small amount of rent. My wife does not agree with this and says they can stay as long as they need. I am trying to make her see reason. As a kid, I was never taken to the zoo, museums, or out to eat. I was sent to a public school and not allowed to play sports or participate in activities because there was never any money. I had to get a job as soon as I could. My parents were 16 when they had me, and even when they got older and had more money, I still did not get the opportunities my brother was given. He got the best and I got nothing. It's time he stood on his own. Yes, my kids get to go to the zoo, park, museums, play sports, and attend activities. They receive a lot of what I didn't, but those are my kids, not my brother. I don't see why my wife would take him along with her. My brother has always loved her like another mom, so I had to share her with him too. I got home from work last night. Everyone was getting ready for dinner. After dinner, I told the kids to please go to their rooms so I could talk to my brother and wife. I asked my brother why he was there and why he felt the need to call us instead of working it out. He said that he just needed to get out of the house. He had found out that his girlfriend had cheated on him and that she was planning on leaving. She blamed him for her cheating because he wouldn't marry her or have a baby with her, which was what she really wanted. I said that what she wanted wasn't unreasonable and that he was being immature. If he could live with her, he could marry her. My wife said that not everyone wants to be married and have children at such a young age. He is an adult. Grow up. I said I didn't appreciate them making decisions without me. This could have been sorted out the next morning. No one needed to drive 2 hours or run away from home. I asked when my brother planned on leaving. He talked to his girlfriend. She was moving out by Sunday and then he would go home. He had 2 months left on the lease, so he was going to look for something smaller to move into. I said that I didn't like him staying that long. My wife replied, "He's your brother. A few days are not going to kill anyone." I agreed just to stop the fight. I didn't like it, but I felt backed into a corner. I still think he needs to go home and deal with his own problems. My brother said, "Thanks, I appreciate it," and walked off. My wife and I talked some more. Neither of us is really happy with one another. User Herding Cats said YTA. He's an adult, then he's a kid. Make up your mind, you were unavailable and he needed help. There's nothing weird about that. Long-term staying in the house? Yeah, you all should discuss that, but for a night or two, since you weren't reachable, it happened. You sound like a terrible brother. User B Clue said, YTA, you are 40 years old. Instead of being insistent about making decisions for your family, why not learn to care about your family instead? Your brother is going through a tough time and your wife is just trying to be nice. Why are you making this about yourself? This next post was made in the step-parent subreddit by a user named BigMac36. The post is titled, "Stepson with mental illness and severe behaviors is ruining my marriage and the little happiness I have." My 16-year-old stepson came to live with my husband and me a few years ago. At first, everything was transitioning fine, at least I thought it was. Over the past year, I feel like I'm going crazy. My stepson manipulates my husband and it is driving a wedge between us in our marriage. My stepson has no respect for our home. He has destroyed things, draws on the walls, and carving in the wood floors is just a small part of it. It's to the point where I have removed things off my walls and shelves and packed them away just so things aren't broken or go missing. Everything has to be kept under lock and key because of stealing. He spills things and makes messes and refuses to clean up after himself. And then my husband gets upset with me and says, "Here we go again," when I say something. If I don't clean it up, it will never get cleaned up. And I've tried to just leave it, but I can't live like that. My stepson has been urinating on his bedroom floor and then blaming it on one of our family pets. If I try to correct him or confront him with something that happened or even ask him to clean up the mess he just made, he throws things, pulls his fist back, screams, yells, knocks things over, breaks stuff, gets in my face, tells me daily he hopes I die, and flat out refuses. I have tried to tell my husband that when he is at work and not around, it's a living hell. I had to quit my job because my stepson is not responsible enough and can't be trusted to be left alone for any amount of time. But when my husband is home, he acts all innocent and like this helpless person. He makes excuses after excuses or says, "I can't," or "I forgot." I feel like my husband doesn't care. For the past 2 years, I cry daily, sometimes several times a day. I feel like my husband doesn't care or support me with the things going on. He works against me and not with me. He makes excuses for his son or turns it around like it's my fault. Because all his son has to say is, "I didn't do it," and it's all forgotten about and nothing said about anything. I know this post is long, but this is not even the icing on the cake. I feel trapped and I've become depressed. My friends stopped coming over, my family has stopped coming over, I barely talk to anyone. I'm stuck in the house because I can't even take him to a store without him acting out. I barely sleep because I don't trust my stepson. And when my husband and I argue over stuff, he stands behind my husband and smiles. He has been diagnosed with ADHD and bipolar disorder. But I feel there's more going on. My husband won't hear of it. I love my husband and have been together almost 15 years. But I am not sure if it's worth fighting for anymore. My life is a daily hell. My stepson also has a picking problem and will pick his skin until there are sores and then picks the scabs off and eats them. He refuses to wash his hands and everything he touches he leaves blood marks on. I am constantly cleaning and wiping things down. I am mentally and physically exhausted and I don't know where to turn. I've tried to talk to my husband, but all he says is that I need to try and be a little nicer to my stepson. I've tried, bent over backwards, and it's only getting worse. Is there anyone with any kind of advice? User Lisa said, "You need to move out, at least temporarily. There is no way you can think straight when you are under this amount of stress. Remove yourself from the situation and give yourself time to think and heal. You may realize that putting up with this and not getting the support you need from your husband may be a deal breaker. Maybe time apart will help him realize he has been taking you for granted, like really taking you for granted even if it is subconsciously and he doesn't realize it. I'm quite sure he is very stressed too, but it is his child causing the stress, so it is his responsibility to do something about it. But giving up your life and job for a child that isn't yours? You are giving up way more than you should have to and taking on and sacrificing more than you need to. You need to look after yourself, and the first step in that is removing yourself from this situation and protecting your mental health and sanity." User Johnny Boy said, "Your stepson sounds seriously mentally ill." Those with ADHD and bipolar disorder aren't out to emotionally destroy other people, but this kid is. You're right to believe that there is more going on. User Blueberry Love said, "It's outrageous that you were forced to quit your job to stay home and take responsibility for a kid who is not your child. In no world, under no circumstances, should this be acceptable. You have sacrificed everything for this man and his child, yet he does not even acknowledge the work you do or show you how much he appreciates you. Has he ever even said thank you? He does not have your back and lets his son get away with every single disgusting thing he is doing while you're forced to clean it up. Stop. Honestly, unless the house is yours, in which case you need to evict him and his son and file for divorce at the same time, you should just move out. Call your friends and family. They will understand when you tell them what has been going on. One of them has a couch or an extra bed you can sleep on while you get back on your feet." The good thing about divorce is that your husband will absolutely owe you alimony or spousal support because he forced you to quit your job to provide childcare for his son. The court will 100% order him to pay you alimony. You need to get your life back and divorce this man as soon as possible before you lose more of your precious time with him. Don't even give him the chance to talk you out of this. Tell him that you are not going to be his unpaid babysitter from now on and that you're done being taken advantage of. Start looking for a job too. Maybe see if you can be rehired at your last job and get your position back. Stay strong. Be firm. Do not hesitate to defend yourself. And if necessary, leave the house or run into a room and lock the door. If he tries to tell you that you're selfish and that you don't love him or his son because you don't want to help anymore, ignore him. If he tries to tell you that you're wrong because all step-parents are happy to do these things, tell him he's full of it and that no decent parent would force a step-parent to quit their job to babysit. This next post was made in the True Off My Chest subreddit by a throwaway account. The post is titled, "I cheated on my fiance at my bachelorette party. I don't know how to move forward. I don't even know why I'm writing this here. Everyone is going to say it's rage bait and I'll get banned. I just did the worst thing that I could possibly do and I just want to confess to everyone, but I can't. I know for a fact that the most important relationship of my entire life will be ruined. My fiance Alex and I have been together for 4 years and we're supposed to get married on the 28th of December. We had our bachelor and bachelorette parties last weekend because everyone was in town for the holiday. That's why we're having the wedding on the 28th. Everyone will be here anyway for the holiday, so coming to the wedding won't be a big thing. Alex is everything I want in a man. He's kind, he's funny and charming, he's tall and handsome, he's helpful, he's a leader, he's successful at his work with a great future. He's really thoughtful. One time we were shopping and I looked at this butterfly decoration just in passing and later on I got it for my birthday. He remembered that I liked it and went back and bought it for me and surprised me with it. Our life is very satisfying to me, and I think to him as well. He's not perfect, of course, and we have our disagreements like any other couple, but we're great together. I feel safe and loved with him. When we first got together, the subject of our past partners came up. I didn't have a lot of past partners as all my relationships were long-term. I had 3 boyfriends before Alex. The previous one was Jake. Jake was gorgeous. He had a very magnetic personality and always dominated whatever room he walked into. I felt so lucky when he chose me to be his girlfriend. We had a very intense physical connection that I sort of lost myself in. In every other way, Jake was terrible. He cheated on me. He stood me up on multiple occasions. He forgot important events like my birthday and my best friend's engagement party. I finally broke up with him. He didn't seem to really care about it though, which hurt. He just ghosted me when I said enough. The reason I mention this is because I told Alex about Jake. At first, he didn't connect the dots, but when I described Jake, he asked me if it was Jake. I said, "How do you know?" And he told me that Jake had stolen his girlfriend from high school when they were all freshmen in college. It really hurt Alex as he thought he would marry this girl. Jake later dumped her and she tried to get back with Alex, but Alex rejected her, telling me that she was disgusting. Alex was quiet around me for a few days after that, but he came around thankfully. During my bachelorette party last weekend, one of my bridesmaids, Claire, invited a bunch of our old friend group to the Airbnb we were renting as a surprise. I thought they had all moved away, but they showed up and yes, you guessed it, Jake was there too. I was pretty drunk, but I can't say I didn't know what I was doing. Jake was still really good looking and he talked only to me that night. He only flirted with me and no one else. He was charming and my inhibitions were down and we eventually went to a bedroom and we had sex. The next morning I was mortified. I told Jake that it meant nothing and he needed to leave and not get in contact with me again. Jake told me that he changed and was a serious person and serious about me. I told him to go and to please just shut up and leave. He seemed sad, but he left. I made sure to make him swear to forget about it all, and he did swear. I told Claire to keep quiet about it and not to tell anyone about Jake. She was the only one who really knew about our past relationship, as she was part of the friend group. She agreed and said it was no big deal, just one last fling before marriage. I think she was the only one who saw us go back to the bedroom, but I can't be sure. All I know is that Jake and I were the least drunk people there, and we were pretty drunk. Meanwhile, it's been eating at me all the time. I can't sleep or eat. I'm afraid my wedding dress will be too big for me because I have this fear in the pit of my stomach, and I throw up when I think about Jake and what I did, which is all the time. I think about it constantly. I have to confess to someone, so I think a bunch of internet strangers is the easiest way to do it. I know I'm terrible, and I know I messed this up. I can't lose Alex. Why didn't I think of him when I was there last Saturday? Why didn't I consider Alex? I'm such an idiot. He's the best thing that ever happened to me, and Jake is the worst. Alex has started to notice my changed attitude. I lied to him and told him that I think I'm coming down with the flu and that he should stay away for a few days. Meanwhile, I'm crying my eyes out in bed, and Alex is being his usual great self, bringing me homemade chicken noodle soup his mom made. I can't tell him, but I can't stand this. Does it go away over time? Feel free to demean me. I deserve it. It's not fake or rage bait. I honestly wish it were. I wish this was just a nightmare. User Ryan's Flying said, "You should tell Alex so he can find someone worthy of his love and respect and not waste his life on you. You don't love him, so don't lie to yourself or us about this. You don't. Claire is also a terrible person, but you two sound like two peas in a pod. Will it go away? For you, probably. It doesn't really sound like you have a conscience for it to bug you long term." User Clock A tier said he will find out. More people saw you two idiots go to that bedroom than you think. One of them will tell Alex, and rightfully so, because we all know your selfish self isn't going to do it. You might get lucky and Alex might not find out right away, but rest assured he will find out. You will have to live every day wondering if he has found out that you cheated on him. Every single time he comes home or calls you or texts you, you will think, did he find out? Hopefully, this angst will eat at you for the rest of your days. You have earned it. Alex has a right to know before he marries you because he deserves to make a decision about his future with all the facts. If you do not give him that opportunity, you do not love him. I mean, obviously, you do not love him because you let some other guy stick his dong in you, tramp. User Incense Cedar said, "You didn't just cheat. You consciously slept with a man you knew had seduced your fiance's former girlfriend, someone whom you already knew was a player because he had already played you. Well, now he screwed you again, in every way. Not gonna lie, that's a hard one to get over. Your only option is to tell your fiance everything, immediately. No minimization, no lies. Give him the empathy and respect you denied him through your betrayal. Give him back the right to choose his own path forward. It's the only way to start rebuilding your own integrity. Good luck, and I hope you can keep posting." A few days later, OP gave us an update. I wanted to update everyone who read my original post, even though it's humiliating and painful. The truth is out. Alex knows, and the consequences have been worse than I could have imagined. I have no one to blame but myself. Thursday evening, Alex didn't come home after work. I thought maybe he was staying late, but around 9 p.m., I got a text from him. It was a photo of me and Jake kissing at my bachelorette party. No words, just the photo. I panicked and immediately texted Claire, asking if she told Alex. She replied that he deserved to know the truth. I don't think she did it to be malicious, maybe she was feeling guilty herself, but at that moment I was freaking out. I started spamming Alex's phone with calls and texts, begging him to talk to me. He left me on read. Then I logged onto social media and saw that Alex had posted that our wedding was canceled because the woman I thought I was marrying turned out to be someone I didn't know. People started calling and messaging me, asking what was going on. I didn't know what to say. I panicked and lied, telling them we had a huge argument but that we were working it out. Meanwhile, Alex was replying to comments under his post, saying things like, "She knows what she did and there's nothing left to say." Friday night, Jake showed up at my apartment. He said he was sorry, claimed he didn't know Alex was my fiance, and tried to explain himself. I told him it didn't matter. What we did ruined the best thing in my life, and I wanted Jake gone. I told him to leave and not come back. He tried to linger, saying something about how we could figure this out, but I slammed the door on him. He makes my skin crawl. Then on Saturday morning, the hammer dropped. Alex's older brother Mark showed up with 2 of Alex's groomsmen. They knocked, came in, and started packing up Alex's things, his clothes, his personal items, even some of the furniture that belonged to him. I tried to talk to them, begging them to tell me where Alex was or how I could reach him, but they just ignored me or told me they didn't know where he was, which was probably a lie. Mark kept repeating that there was nothing to talk about. When they were done, Mark told me that Alex wanted me to keep the engagement ring. He said Alex didn't want it back because he had no use for it, and selling it wouldn't make up for what had happened. He also told me Alex would be sending a check to cover my share of the canceled wedding costs and that his half of the lease was paid for. I begged Mark to at least put Alex on the phone with me and said that he deserved some kind of closure by yelling at me. At least I'd be able to apologize where he could hear my voice. He just said Alex has all the closure he needs and to stop contacting him and leave him alone, that I've done enough. Mark used to be so kind to me, like a big brother. He was excited about the wedding, calling himself the future crazy uncle. Now he was cold and distant, talking to me like I was a stranger. That was when it really hit me. Alex was gone and my life was gone too. I can't afford to stay in the apartment. Alex paid the rent and utilities while I handled groceries, cooking, and chores. I don't make enough as a personal trainer to cover everything on my own, and I let my certifications lapse months ago because we planned on me being a traditional stay-at-home wife and mother after the wedding, which is something I really wanted. I've started packing my things and will be moving back in with my parents. I haven't told them the full story yet, just that the wedding is off. They've been supportive, but I know the full conversation is coming and it's going to be excruciating. My friends are avoiding me too. Some have unfollowed me on social media, and Claire hasn't responded to any of my messages since she told Alex. I don't even know how to begin rebuilding my life from this. I've lost everything that mattered to me because of one selfish, stupid decision. Alex was my rock, my future, and the best thing that ever happened to me, and I threw it all away for nothing. I betrayed him in the worst way possible, and I'll have to live with that for the rest of my life. He won't even talk to me. It's driving me crazy that I can't at least apologize to him in person. I know you'll never see this. I'm sorry. I know my apology means nothing, but I'll regret what I did for the rest of my life. You deserved so much better, and I failed you in every way that mattered. I know that when I'm old and gray, even if I find someone else, you'll always be in my heart. I love you to the moon and back, and I don't think I'll ever be able to love someone else the way I love you. There will always be a part of me that's yours. Now, I have to figure out how to pick up the pieces. My life as I knew it is gone, and I have no one to blame but myself. Stop messaging me. I'm not reading them anyway. I've lost everything. There's no way you can make me feel worse than I already do. I'm barely hanging on to the will to live here.